Cheers to another episode of the Beefy Boys Breakdown. We're going to be going over the quote unquote early prelims and the prelims of UFC 289. And we've already gone over the main cards. So if you want to check out that video, it's on our channel. And go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. But yeah, we're about to talk about these prelims, man. Starting with Diana Belbitsa and Maria Oliveira. And this was a fight, well, not gonna like overplay how excited I was for it. Like it was a striker versus striker matchup to jerk the curtains, and I wasn't mad at the matchmaking. Like I thought it had potential to be a fun fight. Now, what I didn't know going into this one as a better worth fan is that apparently Maria Oliveira, the whole time she was supposed to be in training camp, she was on some Brazilian reality show, made it to like the semifinals, and apparently if she was good, if she had made the finals, she would have had to like pull out of her fight or had a real tough decision to make. And so she essentially didn't train for the fight or was like training in some reality show. And if I would have known that, I would have probably bet my left nut on Belbitsa.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to hear that. I didn't realize that either, but like that was pretty clear in the fight, right? And what's even sadder
Yeah.
about that is like wasn't like Belbita like just dominated the shit out of her. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, maybe on the scorecard you could argue that like it was pretty dominant, but I mean not really even. I mean, yeah, kind of. I don't know. It's on
Well,
that line
well,
between super dominant and close.
Well, I talked about it at first, right? How I was excited for the striker versus striker matchup, right? It was going to be kind of fun to watch. Some strawweight strikers, like sign me up, right? But like when they started fighting, Maria Oliveira, who has known to have literally some of the worst grappling in the whole UFC, but usually we see that manifest in her being on bottom and stuck on bottom and not able to get up and use her striking, which is very good. But in this fight, we saw it manifest a completely weird, different way where she would go for takedowns, essentially kind of get them, but then immediately get reversed. And that happened twice. And then we saw Maria Oliveira like I think what she got reversed from top control a couple times where she were not even reversed. She dropped down to the leg to try to attack like a non-existent. And she didn't know
Yeah,
how to do a heel hook, but she went for a heel hook. And it
right.
was like bizarre. And like I've seen her fumble the bag in the grappling department in a different way, but like she kept fumbling like top positions and like deep takedown attempts. It was like weird. It was really weird because like Belbitsa, there was multiple times in this fight where she was on top getting, but she never once I don't think shot a takedown. She just like would reverse Oliveira's dog shit grappling.
What surprised me the most was that Belbitsa outstruck Oliveira. I mean,
Yeah,
I
which is
thought
why she
like
was shooting.
yeah, like I thought that was like pretty clear, honestly, and like yeah, to your point, that is why Oliveira was trying to shoot, which is like you said, like in a striker versus striker matchup, first one to shoot's usually the one that's getting made fun of or losing.
Yeah,
So
it's like unless you're Kevin Holland.
yeah,
But but yeah, man, like you said, going round by round, I don't know if it's fully necessary, especially for this first fight. But yeah, I mean, Belbitsa won every round on my scorecard.
yeah, I didn't score any
Judges'
rounds for. I
scorecard.
actually had to go look at which round they scored for. Do you want to guess as to which round it was?
Uh, one, I don't know. Question mark. One question mark.
Three. But that's my point.
Three.
That's my point. Is like I don't know, like really how any of those rounds were necessarily like too different. I kind of thought Belbita was slightly ahead at almost every, like every transition of the fight. It was almost like it was going better for Diana Belbita. She was able to continuously land the better strikes. She was able to continuously counter the grappling or get grappling off of her own. The control time would lie to you and tell you that Oliveira had more control time, but that's that standing
That's
snoozy
the
clinch
gaze.
control, or like I mean, you could even argue the time that she was on top, she was never in control. So
No, and she was like in route to getting reversed every time.
that's what I mean.
Like
Yeah,
like the control was on her way to like fucking something up. It was never like productive control. Like, yeah, no, those numbers were super fugazi. And honestly, I thought round three was one of Belbita's best rounds, ironically enough, because she got that knee to the head. And I thought that was essentially the most damaging strike of the whole fight for either girl, either woman. So it's like to give that round to Oliveira is wild. I thought one and two, if anything, like, and one, Maria Oliveira was landing and she was being aggressive, but she got reversed. But like, I thought round 3, Belbita maybe got her most damage off, and Oliveira looked, that might have been Oliveira's worst round. I don't know.
That's kind of how I feel. Is I thought Oliveira had like thrown in the towel and just really didn't. I mean, she didn't have any more snap on her punches at that point when she was throwing in the third round. So and maybe you could argue Belbita took her foot off the gas in the third round. I didn't see it. I thought it was first or second round that they had scored to her because I did have in my notes like I didn't even really have close, but
Nah.
yeah, I know I had 30-27. I can't.
No, Oliveira performed like shit because, hey, guess what? She didn't train for the fight. So, I don't know. And the grappling's so bad. If Oliveira was on UFC roster watch, I mean, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it personally. Belbita performed well enough, though. I'm not going to say anything negative about Belbita. She went out there, got the win, did what she had to do, outperformed, And yeah, I mean, we can keep it pushing.
We got to keep it pushing because here's why I'm saying that this is going to be the prelims breakdown, not the early prelims and the prelims. It's fucking David Dvorak, who was scheduled to fight Matt Schnell, which was going to be a top 10.
That fight was going to be so good. That fight was going to be ass.
Yeah, which is also a top 10 matchup. So in my mind, it's like that probably should have been on the main card over. I mean, I get Barrio is Canadian, so he's going to be there, but like, I mean, hell, you could even argue Malott should have headlined the prelim card, and that fight should have been there. Anyway, point being that Dvorak should have at least been up on the high end of the prelims, like next to Chris Curtis, right? I mean, top 10 guy. Now,
yeah, I would rather watch Dvorak fight than Chris Curtis. Maybe I'm a hater.
No, Dvorak coming off 2 losses to Manel Kopp and someone else that's on a pretty good little rise.
Not Schnell, goddamn it, Nicolau,
yeah, exactly. So it's like 2 guys that are on a good streak right now that are kind of finding their stride in the division. It's not to say he's bad. His record's 16-5 or something, 16-4. So it's like, why is he on the early prelims? And that is essentially why I took the moment to decide, this is going to just be the prelims. Because this guy's better than the next 2 that we're going to talk about as far as just overall fighters. So
yeah. The fight with Schnell got scrapped. He ends up taking on Steve Erceg, who's making his debut out of Australia. And all the Australian fighters have essentially been co-signing this guy for a minute but you never know if that's like, hey, I'm going to say something nice about this guy I know and try to make some money, or if it's like genuine, like, no, this guy's the real deal. It's hard to kind of wade through those waters a little bit. But yeah, Erceg 9-1 coming into it, but a big underdog at plus 225. Dvorak coming in at minus 265. Men's flyweight division. And god damn it, this Erceg guy can go.
Now,
this guy can go.
Here's what I'm so glad you say that. This is what I was going to say is for everything I just said about Dvorak, this is all about Steve Erceg. This whole fight. Steve Erceg, welcome to the UFC, coming out party. I think the only round that's questionable as to how he scored it, like super questionable, is round 1. I think 3 is pretty obvious. I think 2 you have a lean. I think 1 is up for debate.
I have a different takeaway, man. I can't wait to talk about our cards because I thought round 3 was the closest. And rounds 1 and 2 were such like wars that, like, honestly, there's a case for either guy. Like, bro, I thought round 3 was actually the hardest to score. Maybe that was just how I saw it. So maybe we should go round by round on this one.
Yeah, let's do it.
But yeah, round 1, absolute banger, and like, it's always such a pleasant surprise when you get this, top 10 guy fighting a debut guy, like, minus 265, like, okay, this probably isn't going to be that fun of a fight to watch. This probably isn't going to be that competitive. But then we start to get this first round going, and it's kind of tit for tat.
Yeah, Erceg can trade with Dvorak. Granted, Dvorak was kind of dodging the action a little better and landing stronger leg kicks. But all intents and purposes indicated that Steve Erceg was there to stay, like, through the first 2 minutes of the fight.
Yeah, well, in the first round, he landed, I think, 2 head kicks and had Dvorak on the back foot. He was pressuring him, walking him down. Now, at least on my scorecard, I still went 10-9 Dvorak. He had a lot of calf kicks. He ended the round strong, like that, and it was a super close round. So the guy that ends the round kind of winning, I mean, that goes a long way. And he was countering Erceg like pretty goddamn clean, especially like the middle of the round.
And he also wasn't really eating Erceg's strikes that hard in the first round. Like, he was able to roll and counter. One judge went 30-27 on this. Oh, I gave it away. Fuck. One judge went to Steve Erceg on this round.
I mean,
Actually,
it's not the worst.
That
it's
judge
not the
is
worst.
that judge is Jaron Vallel, who's also a ref.
That's not the worst. Like I thought this round was close. I thought this round was. I mean, both guys had a lot of success. Like that's not the craziest scorecard I've ever seen. But we'll keep it pushing. Round 2, another absolute heater. He is able actually to sequence where he wobbled Dvorak with a punch, then landed a head kick, then jumped on a guillotine, like all like in a sequence.
The Gilly was
damn
deep,
near ended the
too.
fight.
I mean, it was so deep for so long, man.
Had it. Dvorak, I mean, credit to him. He's a dog. Like he if he wanted a way out of there it was. You know what I'm saying? He didn't take it.
And credit to Erceg too, because Dvorak almost popped his head out the first time, and Erceg like jumped up and readjusted his whole body on it and got him back down again. So I guess credit to both guys, because Dvorak was such a dog not to tap the second time either.
Yeah, 1,000%. And then also like Erceg, this guy making his debut, it's like, okay, he can go tit for tat on the feet with Dvorak. Oh, he almost subbed Dvorak. It's like, this guy's got a skill set.
Yeah, this guy's dangerous, and he's like in the moment fighting. He's not just wild.
Yeah, and he's like good anywhere it goes, like at the top level, like well-rounded as fuck. I like Erceg a lot. But also, I thought David Dvorak won the first half of the round. Dvorak in round 2 had no big moments. All the big moments were for Erceg. You got to go 10-9 Erceg in 2. Probably the easiest round to score.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's essentially how I saw it, was that 1 was Dvorak, 2 was Erceg. It all came down to 3. I thought 3 was a war until maybe the last minute or minute and a half, where I thought Erceg really started to pull away.
Yeah, that takedown late, like, essentially won the fight.
Essentially iced it,
like,
yeah.
It was like the dagger, like the 3-pointer in basketball, the dagger.
Dude, holy shit!
He took the back. He took the back standing. Like, I thought he had won the most positions and But you're right. Like, probably 4 minutes of that round were razor thin in round 3. But then the late takedown, the back take, kind of just tilted the scales.
He does look so much like Astro Boy. I'm just looking at his UFC picture. Jesus, man.
I don't know who's that. Is Astro Boy like a comic book, or like what is that?
Yeah. Comic book cartoon here. I can bring it up on my phone and show everyone at home as well. Like, I'll bring it up on the screen for people at home, but I can show you on my phone. You know what I'm saying? And then the Astro Boy boots are like notorious because like Israel Adesanya and those guys are always talking about them because they actually make them as shoes. That would be Astro Boy.
Okay.
So like Steve Erceg.
Oh, the red boots. That's where it came from.
Yes, that's where the Astro Boy boots come from, right? So like, for the people at home, I'm just gonna pull a quick Astro Boy picture up on the screen for them. Let's see.
We got a fucking graphics department over here. High level production here on the Beefy Boys breakdown.
Yeah, don't worry, Dom. They can still see you. They just can't see me. It's over my face. But yeah, so right now they can see like toys and shit. And essentially, I guess there's a movie. It's on Rotten Tomatoes, I can see. And then there's like Japanese manga. But yeah, point being,
it's a whole thing. It's a
whole thing. Apparently, it's famous. Now that being said, this guy looks just like him, so if you're at home wondering, what the fuck does Steve Erceg look like? Well, that was what that whole thing was trying to do. Now, the other point of that is...
But also, Steve Erceg looks like a top 10 fucking guy.
That's the thing, right? That's the thing, right? Is he looks sick. His gym is the same one as Robert Whittaker, Wilkes Martial Arts Academy, or Wilkes Martial Arts. I don't know if it's Academy, but
dogs.
In Australia, yeah, just a bunch of dogs out there. Jamie Malarkey out there. I don't know if that's as much of a dog, but, Whatever.
No, he's the ultimate dog. Like, you can just beat the shit out of him, but like, he's still a dog. Like, that's the thing about him. Like, that's why his fights are quote unquote fun, because he's just going to take a drumming and then it's like still going to be a fight because he's a dog.
Because he's a dog. You're right.
For sure. Right. But yeah, so 2 judges go 29-28. What? Which I guess round 1 to Dvorak is what they saw. I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one judge goes 30-27, which isn't crazy. But Erceg with the huge upset, making a splash in the division. I mean, you
I mean,
probably make him fight back next, but even back for him, your second fight in the UFC is going to be a top 15 guy.
oh, give him Tim
Let's
Elliott. Give him Tim Elliott. Give him Tim Elliott.
Tim Elliott. That's a fun one, yeah. And you got Ulan Bekev and Silva hanging out at the back of the division, but yeah, you just beat Dvorak. I mean,
Well, I mean, there's no way they give him Makayev, right?
no, you wouldn't think so. You think they would use him to knock off some older guys, right?
Do you think they'll use him on like an Abu Dhabi card against someone like Sumu Darji because he's Australian, so it's not really that far for him to get to Abu Dhabi versus like being an American?
Yeah, they could do that. And that's what he called for, right? Am I not? No, he called. No. Remember his call out, his post fight. We'll see if he gets it. I think he earned it. There's an Australia card coming up in like 3 months or something. He called to be on that card.
Which
so
Sumu Darji out of China, it's not a far trip for him.
Quicker trip. Yeah, not bad. Yeah, it would make a lot of sense, like logistically.
Logistically, the UFC definitely wants to book that because they pay less for flights.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Dana Scrooge. But we'll keep it pushing, man, to, I guess, the start of the prelims, if you even want to differentiate it. We're really not here on the Beefy Boys Breakdown. But we got Blake Builder, minus 265, big favorite, taking on Canadian Kyle Nelson, plus 225 in the men's featherweight division. And, man, I got to take out my shovel real quick and eat some shit because I was in our group chat. We had like a bet group chat where we just kind of debate takes and how we see it, and bias and all that. But I pretty much spent the majority of the week shitting on Kyle Nelson, saying we shouldn't do an all Canada parlay. I know, dumbest guy ever, right? And how I would never put my money on Kyle Nelson, and I was just pretty much dragging on Kyle Nelson. So I'm gonna take out my giant shovel, or maybe even like a 5-gallon bucket, and eat my shit real quick.
Well, here's where I'm going to say that, like, you don't have to eat too much shit, right? Because there are all the Canadian fighters that you think would lose, right? Mike Mallet against Adam Fugit. Mallet's obviously the favorite there. Malott, whatever the fuck you want to call him. Marc-Andre Barrio, the favorite against Eric Anders. Eamon Zahabi, pick him with the Ricci Lang. Kyle Nelson and Jasmine Jasdavicius were equally underdogs, both plus 265. Yes. So, like, those were the two that out of anyone you would think would not win. Now, Diana Belbitsa is what? Fucking Moldovan or some bullshit, but she trains in Canada, so she counts.
Yeah, something like that.
Like, we'll call it Russian, right? Moldova, Belarus, Ukraine, we'll call it Russia, right?
Here's it coming in steaming hot.
That was a hot one. Anyway, we'll get back to Blake Builder while I'm tearing it down over here.
That was a Russian artillery shell landing on a Ukrainian child.
Damn, man. We're out in Kharkiv with these missiles.
Jesus.
So anyway, yeah, Kyle Nelson would not have been the guy to bet on. Now, shout out to our boy Michael, who I think on the gimmick of an all-Canada parlay took all the Canadian fighters and hit that shit. And then, once again, took all the Canadian fighters and then added Nunes because he realized the value is way too good to not add her on a 7-leg parlay.
And cash
turned $10 into like $1,100. So good for him.
And I was literally in the group chat like, that's a fucking dumb idea. Let's not do that. Fuck me. Jesus,
yeah, can you imagine for the first Beefy, like, official parlay? Which, there was an official Beefy parlay. We do cash on it, so everyone can suck these nuts. But also, if we had hit it at, that level, that'd have been crazy. Plus 11,000, that'd have been a lot better.
Yeah, that's some dream shit. But yeah, man, Blake Builder versus Kyle Nelson. I was hating on Kyle Nelson all week. Now, granted, round one was pretty close, I thought. I thought it was Builder's best round, but the strike numbers and he was having some success, but man, Nelson, it was quality over quantity. And I mean, he pretty much broke Builder's nose. He wobbled him. Like, Builder had the numbers and the volume, but Kyle Nelson was getting the damage off.
Sorry, the ESPN channel just decides to play ads whenever it wants. I don't know why. It'll just unmute itself. But yes, I agree with you. Essentially, the strike numbers, I think, were extremely close, and I think the overall numbers from this fight would make you think that, like, essentially, let me just read them to you, because it's like, you would think, who won? So, like, total strikes is 84-83 in favor of Builder, but, like, one strike, whatever. Significant strikes.
But in the first round, it was a Builder by a decent margin.
Right, but here's where it gets a little different. His significant strikes was 45 for Builder, 59 for Kyle Nelson. So to your point,
Yes, the power.
right. That's the thing is like the power strikes for Nelson were there. And so like for me, just like you said, Kyle Nelson was just landing the better shots and was also able to stuff Builder's takedown attempts and kind of
Yes.
neutralize the grappling, which whenever it was a visual effect, right, of oh, well, Builder can't get his game plan to work and is eating hard shots because of that. Nelson's winning. You know what I mean? Like, that is the psychological effect I get from seeing that.
Well, and also like kind of caveman breakdown here, like typically speed beats strength, but this was kind of the rare example where strength was beating speed,
Yeah, essentially.
both in the
Well,
grappling and the striking.
also, man, I mean, Blake Builder was not being technical with any of his approaches, to be fair.
The broadcaster kept pointing out how Kyle Nelson would essentially just stick his arm out there and Builder would just like run his
Right.
face into it.
Right. It was like Kyle Nelson didn't have to do a whole lot here. It was almost like I've heard coaches tell quarterbacks before, like, listen, we're not going to rely on you to win the game. Just don't lose it. Does that make sense? Like, that's essentially John Gruden talking to Brad Garrett in fucking 2002 at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Like, hey, you see all these other guys out here? Hall of Fame, right? So just don't blow it. Like, just be normal.
Yeah, and on the flip side, you know, Blake Builder was out there being like NFL Johnny Manziel, just like scrambling and throwing picks and just being reckless, as opposed to like,
Exactly. Like, he's going to beat himself if you'll just let him. Like, don't give him any opportunities and he'll beat himself.
And that's what was happening. Kyle Nelson was making all the heady veteran, just steady as she goes, kind of just like, making the right choices, making the right decisions. And Builder was like trying to pull these gimmicky moves and just try to be wild. And I mean, Kyle Nelson just won with the fundamentals. I honestly think it's kind of wild that a judge gave a round to Builder. I mean, because I mean, the rest of it, we've already kind of broken down the whole fight. I mean, it pretty much goes on like that. It mainly takes place on the feet because Builder couldn't get it to the ground, and Kyle Nelson was winning on the feet. So why would he want to take it to the ground? So the fight pretty much takes place on the feet. I mean, Nelson, anything you want to name, he was landing at body kicks, calf kicks, jabs, right hands. He was landing over the course of the fight. He landed about one of everything, and I thought the margin widened as the fight went on.
You know, there's just nothing in his topology to make me think that this result is something he would get. Like, yeah, he has a KO win over Kama Worthy back in 2017. Not really going to count that as much, right? Has a KO loss to Diego Ferreira. Submitted by Matt Sales. KO loss to Billy Quarantillo. He beat Polo Reyes, who the fuck, you know? Lost to Jai Herbert. Has a draw against Doo Ho Choi. These are all of his UFC fights, right? So he has one win in the UFC in his last 6 fights coming into this fight. Like, it's amazing that he wasn't cut, right? So, anyway, point in saying that is, this is a huge win for him, but it also looked like a guy in Blake Builder who was in his 2nd UFC fight versus a guy in Kyle Nelson who was in his 7th UFC fight and was like literally on death's doorstep of the UFC career. Like, hey man, you lose, you are definitely cut.
Yeah, 1,000%. Even though alluded to that on the broadcast. So, I mean, he cashes at plus 225. Good on him. Best performance of his career, at least his UFC career, as we pretty much alluded to there. Yeah, man. And then Builder, you know, just looked green. He's athletic. I mean, he's tough. He's athletic. You know, it's not like there's not talent there.
He's
but
super athletic and clearly has, like he's explosive and clearly can cut from a high weight down to a low weight. So, like, all the accolades, all the accolades of like an athlete are there, but he needs technique, man. He needs fight IQ. Like, you can't just go in there and be an athlete. It's not gymnastics, unfortunately.
For sure, man. And we'll keep it pushing to another Canadian, Ayman Zahabi, plus 100 against Harichi Lang, minus 120. I don't think any of us bet this fight. Well, I guess Michael did. He picked the Canadians, but
I asked you to do a deep dive, and the result was a no bet.
Yeah, because
it's a fair no bet. Like, I'm not criticizing that at all. I'm saying like that is the fair result of it. In Vegas,
my logic.
What was Vegas? Minus 105, minus 115. Was that the final?
+120, +100, coin flip, right?
Okay,
Coin
yeah,
flip. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
either way.
Essentially, coin
And
flip, yes.
and so my argument was that Arichi Lang had been fighting flyweights. And when a guy moves up a weight class, it's either one of two things. And you don't know till it happens. Either he's going to perform better because he's cutting less weight, or the guys are going to be too big, mean, and scary for him, and it's not going to go well. Like, so it's like you only get one of really those two options when a guy moves up weight classes. So
True.
without any, like, it would literally be a coin flip, like a slot machine type of sports bet, which I'm not super into. That's why I said it was a no bet, because like there was nothing to like juxtapose it. Like there was nothing to like compare and contrast. It's hard to evaluate cross, weight classes, especially on a guy like a reach. Like, it's not like Hamzat going to 185. Like he's going to do fine. Like there's different levels. But yeah, man, taking place in the bantamweight division, as I alluded to, and I said, the guy might be too big, mean, and scary. That's kind of what it looked like here, man. This was absolutely brutal.
How many, just a quick question before the fight's a minute and 4 seconds long, so I'll have a few questions to ask you before we get to that.
Also, Ursay got performance bonus for his,
Yes.
he definitely deserved it.
Definitely deserved it. How many punches do you think Arichi Lang landed?
5.
0. How many leg kicks do you think he landed?
3.
4. How many body shots do you think he landed? Punches or kicks? Well, it's not any punches because I said no punches. He landed 1 body kick. That's all he landed in the whole fight.
Yeah, I was going to say 1.
four calf kicks and 1 body kick. That's all he landed in the whole fight. Now, to Zahabi's credit, he only landed 5 strikes the whole fight. Do you want to guess where his 5 strikes were landed?
Head.
All to the face. Exactly right. Big difference. Big difference.
That's a dope break. I mean,
and 5 strikes. I'm just saying.
Lie, but
that's numbers lying, though, right?
Paint a beautiful picture. No, I thought the numbers paint a beautiful picture.
Well,
of this fight,
when you can see where they land. If I just told you 5 significant strikes a person.
Right, you can twist stats. That's why
Pat
McAfee always talks about, like, stats on anybody's team. Like, if you can paint that picture either way.
Like, that's the realest shit on earth.
With the same number, like, you can paint it either way how you want to spin it. Yeah, no, good point. Oh, even like on a broader stroke, that's a good point. But God damn it, so Zahabi pretty much charges in with the right hand, kind of completely whiffs, but then follows it up with a piss missile of a left, and it lands like directly on the button. Like, every fight fan knows that button we're talking about, right on that jaw hinge, and it connects, like, essentially full, like, leaping haymaker. And it was essentially a walk-off KO. It was identical to Sugar Sean when Sugar, like, looked at the ref, was like, "Oh, you're gonna make me do this," and then he spiked the guy. It was very Sugar Sean-esque, which I don't think you couldn't find too much different human beings than Sugar Sean and Ayman Zahabi, but like in that moment, like that 5-second window, it was almost identical, like a walk-off KO. Oh, really?
You know what sucks about it too? Zahabi like put his arms up like he was like gonna be done with it, and the ref looked back at him almost like, "You're gonna finish it though, right?" And he was like, I guess I am," and like rocked the shit out of Arichi Lang again, and that's when like Arichi Lang like came back up and was like fully defending, and it was like, man, that was probably over though, right? Like, that's one where the ref could have stepped in and I would have been okay with the walk off.
I won't say should have. I won't say could have.
Okay,
I'll
you.
Throw an S on that. Well, this was a brutal knockout, the scary kind where like 30 to 45 seconds went by. The ref's talking to him, the doctor's talking to him, talking about Arichi Lang here. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, great." Gets up and puts his gloves up
great.
And starts
that was
marching
the end.
Forward.
Yeah, he's like, "That was the end of the round. I'm gonna go march him down."
Yeah, he did not know where he was at. He didn't know what was happening. That was a scary one. Absolutely brutal. I mean, can you believe this didn't get a bonus? This may be the biggest bonus robbery I've ever fucking seen, because it was a close money line. It's not like he went out and did this as a -600.
Is it a surprise to you that Arichi Lang was able to be knocked out whilst going up in weight? Because a lot of people talk about how you get the extra water on your brain so you're less susceptible to it.
If I'm not mistaken, Arichi Lang, this isn't the first time he's been brutally finished, if I'm not mistaken. So he may just have that kind of like concussion likely to happen. I'm on his Tapology. No, his only losses have been decisions, so I'm actually full of shit. I think that
he knocks people out, right?
Yeah. I think it was just that perfect punch. Like it was a
It
left
really
hand,
was, and it was
like
almost
on the butt.
it was a weird punch too, right?
It was like a follow up shot.
Right,
It
like
was
to like that's what I'm saying, because he saw the right hand and leaned back and dodged the right hand, which was the fully set up strike. What got him, and honestly, man, when you looked at it, like Zahabi's feet like planted weird because he like threw the left only because he saw it. It clearly was not like a comfortable combination he practices. I think that's important to note too. Like you could tell like and not to be like overly technical or give like a bad explanation of what happened, but like if you think about throwing the overhand right, he steps forward with the right, his left foot like slides back behind him, which gives him the ability to throw that left right there like snappy. Because normally your legs would be too far spread apart and you couldn't bring that side around that fast. But because it was almost like he slid with the right hand, he was able to throw the left so fast. So I think for him it was almost like he recognized the range in the moment and was like, oh, like, I'm going to reach through my left, and, like, threw the left. And for Reachling, he was like, this dude just threw a huge overhand right counter. Like, no way his feet are going to slide with him, and he's going to come up with a left after.
Yeah, he was probably, like, kind of having a mini celebration in his head.
Right,
oh,
like,
that wasn't even close.
Like, hell yeah, slip the right. Oh, God damn it.
That's probably exactly how it went down. And, man, I mean, impressive as fuck from Zahabi. He's been notoriously an inactive guy, but he was talking on the post fight how he wanted to be more active. Which after a performance like that, I mean, he could, good on him. There's a million bantamweights for him to fight. Zahabi though, like no bonus. Like I can't get over that. Usually I like mention it and keep it pushing, but I'm like kind of hung up on it. Like I'm always like, if that doesn't get you a bonus, what does?
Yeah, what's it take, right?
Like a dope of a knockout highlight as you could really get.
Sorry, I think my camera has something on it.
Yeah, it looked funny. It looked.
You notice that?
Yeah, I did. I did notice it.
It's being weird. Let me. Oh, there it is. Now it's good.
Maybe it lost focus.
Yeah.
Lost focus. I think it was like focus. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess my overall takeaway as before we keep it pushing is just that Zahabi got robbed of a bonus, man. That was fantastic. As a fan, give me that. I mean, that's a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Ibn Zahabi and I KO a guy in 1 minute that doesn't really get finished like that, yeah, give me my
money
bonus,
line,
dog.
Even money line, yeah.
Well, he was even the underdog, was he not?
Yeah, plus 100, but I'm saying it's not like he was minus 600. Like, that's usually the argument, right, for not giving a guy a bonus.
I mean, he was closer to the underdog than the favorite, if I was going to argue his case. Like,
no,
hey, man,
I agree.
I'm the 48, not the 52. Like, you're the house, I'm not. Like, and I got the win. Like, let's really be real about it. Like, it's like when I hit a blackjack at the casino, it pays 3-2. When the casino hits a blackjack, they just get my money the same as if they hit 18. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's a good point. But yeah, man, we'll keep it pushing. But that was a very entertaining bantamweight fight. Shout out Iman Zahabi, definitely deserved the bonus. But up next, we got Miranda Maverick, who at one point pretty recently was ranked in minus 245 favorite here. Only 25 years old still after all this experience and ups and downs. Jasmine Jasdavicius plus 205, talking about women's flyweight here. And man, I didn't bet this because it's not like I sit here and try to act like I'm the smart mark that like Jasmine Jasdavicius. I just saw that number on Maverick and was like, that's a little high for me. Like I'm not as high on Maverick as Vegas is. So I'm not saying I didn't bet this, and I'm not trying to act like hindsight 2020. I just in the moment, I was like, I don't think Maverick is that big of a favorite, is she? Like, I understand her maybe if she was like minus 160 or something, but I saw the minus 245, and I'm like, that's a steep price for Maverick.
Super steep. And so, like, for me, this was definitely a no bet, right? Because, like, as much as I thought and knew Jasdavicius had a path to victory, I didn't love it, but I also was never going to take Maverick at that number.
Yeah, exactly. That number was steep on Maverick. Now, let's just talk about round one real quick because it's honestly a weird round to score, but not because it was awesome, because it was a snooze fest. It was like,
right.
How do you score round one? Because essentially, like the last 3 minutes of the round are spent with Jasdavicius technically on top, but with Miranda Maverick in kind of like a shitty armbar attempt. Like the armbar was never really that close. But Jazz Vicious, it's not like she was really controlling or she wasn't getting damage off.
So,
But the ref couldn't step in because it was technically like a submission attempt.
so,
How do you score it?
so I have a way to explain how I score this, and I think for me, it's pretty clear, and I think for ESPN, it's very murky, right? And here's what I mean by that. Maverick has credited with 7 seconds of control and 0 submission attempts in the fight. Jazz Vicious,
That's Bouguet. That was an armbar attempt, at least in my book.
I agree. Jazz Vicious is credited with 7 minutes 35 seconds of control and only the 1 takedown. So here's my thing. She definitely gets the 1 takedown. The control stops the minute her arm gets put in that armbar because who wants to be in that position? That's my question. Who wants to be where? Who wants to be where? Maverick wants to be in that position, right? Because she wants to extend the arm.
And she was safe in that position.
Right. She's not getting punched. Jazz Vicious is not safe in that position. She's actively having to defend to not or to stay safe, right? And if she could get her arm out and step back, she would, right? Whereas what would Maverick do? She'd maintain that position. So my whole thing with control is Jazz Vicious lost control of the position whenever she decided she didn't want to be there and couldn't take herself out of it.
Man, better call Harry, man. You just sold me, bro. I mean, I scored it to Jazz Vicious, but I'm sitting here nodding my head like with everything you say. I mean, because here's my take, and I'm not even trying to be a smartass here. Like, I had all these thoughts in the moment as well, and I was like, well, if I have to say that many words, like, because Jazz Vicious spent the whole round on top. That's 1 sentence versus a whole like as like a defense attorney that it takes to give that round to Maverick. But I was sitting there nodding with everything you said. So, I mean, it was a coin flip round, honestly, is what we're demonstrating. But because I agree with everything you said.
It was a close round, especially I thought from the judges' perspective and like how they're usually not the most nuanced. Like, I didn't think they would recognize the danger of the position or give any sort of semblance of control to Maverick.
Sure.
I scored it to Maverick. Just based on that threat.
The judges score it.
Oh, they all scored it to Maverick.
All scored it for Maverick. Wow. So I scored it to Jazz Vicious. I'm just an idiot then. All right.
No. It like I was very close. Like I was like coin flip to it because when they started talking about it in the commentary team later on, right? And I think it was Anik was like, yeah, probably up 2-0, and DC was like, well, I don't know. Like I'm not scoring the rounds, but if you think about it, like Maverick wasn't in any danger, and Jazz Vicious was in danger, and like I could see that first round to her, and like he was like, now with these judges, I don't know, and I literally laughed out loud, and I was like, yeah, I have it that way, but like, yeah, the judges, there's no way, like, so I literally stepped into the shower,
these jerk off,
like watching the third round on my phone, right, and I literally say out loud, like laughing in the shower, I'm like, yeah, no way, it's definitely 2-0, like no way, and then they don't, and I'm just like. So then I think to myself, too, at the end of this fight, a conclusion. Well, actually, let's get to the second and third rounds.
Yeah.
Because I think there's conspiracy footsteps at hand here. For all 3 of them to score that first round to her is crazy. Because I had to lawyer ball my way into it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the UFC definitely. I mean, apparently Vegas too. I don't know. Maybe we're just like we saw through Maverick. Maybe that's just what you can say. Like we saw through it.
I mean, we both told everyone. I think 2 weeks ago we'd said fade Maverick.
Well, definitely after when we broke down her last fight, we're like, I don't know how this is going.
But
like,
I even
she gives me like Shabazian vibe. She gives me Shabazian vibe.
I think we did a pay-per-view look ahead a while ago to this one. And it was a big fade Maverick type of vibe.
Yeah, because then, like, I mean, in round 2, Maverick was, like, shooting for takedowns because essentially she was losing the stand-up. And then Jazz Vicious was able to reverse the takedown and end up on the back and then was getting shots off while in the back control, like Aljamain Sterling style kind of, and was just kind of backpacking and hammering away. So definitely Jazz Vicious won round 2 with the damage, with the control, with the takedown, all of it. Terrible round for Maverick. I mean, you saw it the same way, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. So for Maverick, it just, I mean, I thought that was the turning point of the fight for the most part, right? Because I thought round 1, was at least close as far as neither girl was really like just getting outright dominated and losing, because at least Maverick was dangerous in her bottom position. I didn't see any danger from Maverick really in rounds 2 nor 3.
No.
I'll be honest, like
Yeah.
I expected her. So for me at this point, I have it 1919. You have it 2018. So
Yeah.
for either of us though, we would expect Maverick to come out and fucking go for it, right?
You know what? Maybe I'm the ultimate Maverick hater. I didn't. I was like, she's definitely not going to go for it.
Well,
She was on her Irene and the Aldana shit.
Oh my god, dude, that is. And then the more shit Pena says. Did you see her on MMA Hour today?
It was even more cringe. It's getting more cringe.
Yeah, we'll probably have to take it aside before this last fight to talk about that, because the last fight's also some bullshit on this card. This is the last fight that even is meaningful.
Number one bullshit guy. But man, in round 3, Jazz the Vicious was coming with those straight line blitzes, and like, you know what it reminds me of when I say straight line blitz?
Dricus Duplessis. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jazz the Vicious will like hook up with Duplessis and make some little straight line blitzing little babies, because like
Jazz the Duplessis.
Jazz the Duplessis, dude, because like when you got that too when you were watching it, you're like, this looks exactly like Dricus.
Dude, yeah, it's weird. Like she does do like the chopping steps too, like the shoulders that move off. So like
it was identical to Dricus.
It's the weirdest little thing, dude. Like I swear when they do it too, it's like stand off the screen. Like what was that? That was a weird like sequence of movements they just put together. But it was fluid.
Though, in all credit,
they're fluid and like they chain together strikes really well, and they come from weird angles. But every time you see it from the side, like slash like back angle, you're like, that is fucking weird looking. But if it was coming at you, it looked a lot different, I think.
But Jazz the Vicious definitely, won the damage battle. She reversed another takedown from Maverick. Maverick was just whipping takedowns by like the dozen. And
honestly, who would have thought that she would get outstruck so bad by Jazz the Vicious that she would start just going for takedowns to try and get it to a jiu-jitsu match, because she found success with an halfway armbar in the first round. Yeah, like that was the sad part too, right? Was she was going for takedowns because she thought maybe I can pull off this crazy sub, and it's like, bitch, you sat there for 2.5 minutes with her arm in spiderweb and you couldn't get it. Like, what are you talking about?
And that was part of my logic for giving the round to Jazz the Vicious, round 1 I'm talking about, because I literally have in my notes, like, I was like, this is what my notes say in round 1. I was like, ground control versus a shitty armbar attempt. Like, yeah. I was it was like because to your credit, if that armbar, like, there's no such thing as an armbar being close for 3 minutes. Like that sentence doesn't, like, it's an oxymoron. If an armbar is close, it doesn't take 3 minutes to get it. So that means it wasn't close. Which, how dangerous was it? It was just like a bad armbar attempt. If it was like a better armbar attempt, like the arm never like it
was like the ultimate stalemate, but you can't call stalemate position. It's just close enough to being like fatally dangerous to the fight.
Like, I thought it was weird that it wasn't called an attempt, because we've sitting here debated like the attempt for 5 minutes. Like, it was obviously an attempt. Like, to not score that as an attempt is really weird. Now, obviously, wasn't successful, and you can argue how close it was, how good an attempt it was, but it was without a shadow of a doubt an attempt.
I think for an attempt on like the way the UFC counts, I think you have to get the submission fully extended.
Yeah, but like in jiu-jitsu, what do they call that? A catch? Or like, is that what they call? So like in jiu-jitsu, like submission grappling matches, I think they call it, you would get a point there for like an attempt or like a catch, or like, I don't know. I'm not the biggest expert there, but I believe that's the case. I watched some one grappling. I think they would get a point for that.
I would just also like to point out that, like, if she's holding her arm like this and like has her wrist and is like across as well and has her legs across her face and is trying to kick away, she is attempting to submit, right? So that's a submission attempt.
Doesn't have to be a make. Like, that's the whole reason those are two different words.
That's my thing is, like, bro, if you get an armbar locked out, you pretty much got it. So why are we calling it an attempt? Like, if you don't get it at that point, you suck.
Either way, like, it's all an attempt. There's good attempts.
Like, it was all an attempt. It was just good and bad. Like, essentially, they're saying if it's a good attempt, we'll count it as an attempt. It's like, what the fuck is that?
Like, the word attempt doesn't mean, like, Like as a skateboarder, like I know that you can attempt a trick and like it's not the same as making a trick, but you still attempted the trick. Like it's still a try.
By
Like
the
in the
way,
game,
I saw you got the kickflip down. Shout out.
got my first kickflip, bro. I'm stoked on it, and I need to get one rolling. I'm excited on this journey. It's honestly annoying. I'm kind of tired of it, but like I got to keep at it. It's a grind. It really is. It really is. Like it reminded me of like this old saying, like practice 1,000 kicks or whatever. Like the guy that practices one kick 1,000 times. Like that was me with the kickflip. But it probably took 1,000 attempts for me to land one. And like it's easy to laugh at skateboard. I know it's like the biggest tough guy thing to do or whatever, but like it's in that regards, in that one, like the repetition and the time put in that it's like similar in certain ways to like other sports. But yeah, man, but we'll keep it pushing here, man. Jazz the Vicious gets the 29-28. I thought it was a 30-27. Gets the 29-28. Big win for her, man. Big win for her. I mean, whatever. I mean, you can argue how much star power Maverick had, but however much she had, Jazz the Vicious pretty much ate it.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not mad at Jazz the Vicious getting a little bit of push here.
Yeah, seriously.
And I'm also not mad at Maverick not getting any more push.
Exactly, because I mean, we're always telling Maverick haters here, but here's why: she got the hype train behind her early on in her career. She was ranked, and even when she was having success and winning fights, it wasn't fun to watch. So it's like either way, if she wins, it's snoozy. If she loses, it's snoozy. Like I don't think she's like gonna rise to the elite echelon. So like, what are we doing here? I know she's young though. Like I said, she gives me Shabazian vibes. Like it was too much too soon. Now it's just like she's trying to learn on the job. It's tough because I mean you fight killers every week, and it's just maybe it's just not going to go the way we thought it was going to go. Or at least some people. Like I said we've been kind of out on Maverick even while she was getting the push. So yeah, what I mean. Like I don't know. Like
I just want to look at her record real fast, right? She has, and to her credit, she has 7 UFC fights, but she has a win over Liana.
She's only 25 years old.
Yes, that is impressive as well. Now, her first fight was 2020, so I guess at the age of 22, it was October 24th.
Yeah, she was young.
COVID fighter, that was Khabib Gaethje. That was Gaethje's last fight, was her first card to fight on. Cool for her. She got the doctor stoppage.
They put her on big cards. That's what we mean by getting the push.
But remember, this was what rocketed her to this push. She wrecked Jojo's nose so bad with that punch that everyone was like sold on like, oh, Maverick has like crazy punching power.
And doesn't she train with Trevor Whitman too? So she has the gym behind her.
Right. And then she fought Jillian Robertson and was smart enough to avoid going to the ground and won that fight because Jillian Robertson can't do anything but grapple.
Good striker. Yeah.
Then she fought Macy Barber and lost in a split decision.
One of us won a bet on that. I thought I don't remember who honestly, but like one of us put like I think like bet on Barber if I'm not mistaken.
Well, shout out to us. And then she fought Erin Blanchfield and lost a unanimous decision, but didn't get finished.
Which no knock on that. Blanchfield's great. We're high on Blanchfield.
And then submitted Sabina Mazo, and then got a decision winning at Shanna Young. So like, all I'm saying is based on that record. She has some solid wins here and there, and then she has some shitty wins here and there. But she also has, like, pretty much only good losses until now. So that's what makes her so hard to judge.
Well, and like I said, it's just a fighter that doesn't excite me. Sorry, it just doesn't. Like just her, even when she's winning, when she's losing, it's just not that fun to watch. And like it's not like she's entertaining on social media or has a YouTube channel. Like there's just what is there to be a fan of? I guess is my question, and maybe that's harsh.
She just has that Ronda Rousey vibe, like the way she dresses and like physically looks. Nothing else about her, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But we'll keep it pushing here. We got a pretty big fight, honestly, especially to be on the prelims. Chris Curtis versus Nasruddin Imavov, 14 versus 12 in the middleweight division. I mean, pretty much whoever wins this fight's getting a top 10 shot. Chris Curtis plus 150. You and I believe Michael were high on Curtis all week. I kind of liked Imavov, minus 175 for Imavov. Middleweight division, as I mentioned. And, man, this was the ultimate blue balls, especially for me. This ruined my 2-leg parlay.
Which you definitely would have hit.
Yes, I would have hit, and we'll talk about it. That's what makes this so weird. So, we'll just get the cat out of the bag. This ends up being a no contest, which that it makes everything we're about to describe, put it in context because Imavov was 1,000% winning the fight. He 1,000% won round one,
Oh well, I
and
can tell you that you're not even guessing when you say 1,000%. Every judge scored round 1, 10-9 to Imavov. So in fact,
yeah,
at this point, he was winning the fight.
yes, like non-debatable. And he was he was out striking Chris Curtis, which he's 6'3", which is wild. I always forget that about Imavov. And Curtis is like 5'10". So you got a tall middleweight fighting a short middleweight. So it's not like a crazy concept to like say like, oh, of course the tall guy was able to manage the distance. But Chris Curtis, in most people's eyes, including mine, held the boxing advantage going into
For
this fight.
sure, that's
If
what I
you
thought.
had the UFC video game ratings, he would have a higher boxing rating than Imavov, or so we thought. Imavov was able to just pump that jet like a stiff, like the speed though. That's the thing. Like it wasn't like Imavov was just being long, like the speed and like athleticism on those and precision on those shots. I don't know if we've seen that from Imavov, or if we have, I'm just sleeping on him. Like it was kind of next level. Like they were fast, they were long, they were accurate. He looked great on the feet.
What does Imavov list his nickname as now? The
Oh,
sniper. That's hilarious. He used to nickname himself the Russian Sniper back whenever he was like 6-0, 7-0, right before he made it to the UFC. And then obviously dropped that name whenever the war started. I just hilarious because he fights out of France, so like
yeah,
it's not even like he's like a big Russian guy. Like he's just Russian descent. So like was like
French beard. You can tell that
yeah,
French.
no, he's French as like a nationality more so. Like his
He's
heritage
getting
is
like them
Russian.
$70 shaves on that motherfucker. He's not,
But yeah, no.
but
Point being is that his whole game, whenever he was coming up, was in fact striking, and that's what he was known for. Um, and I think that was on display here.
striking
Now,
it more like I like this kicks. I don't know, just the speed on the punches. I guess I don't know, just jumped off the screen to me.
I also thought Curtis, being best friends and training partners with Sean Strickland, would be able to deal with a guy that was tall and long because Strickland's 6'1" and has like a 74-inch reach. So it's not like he's.
Yeah, but their styles are so different.
That's true.
Strickland can't
Strickland's
do a Mava. Like
Strickland
he's
is not
steady. Like
long.
he's like just gonna like I don't know. He's not that fast. I think it's more of a speed difference than a length
Well,
difference.
Vittori also trains in that camp.
Yeah, but even Vittori's not. I don't know if he's as fast as a Mava.
All I'm saying is Chris Curtis is getting
That
good.
speed was
Chris Curtis is getting good bodies in there.
for sure 1,000% over there. At, I think Extreme Couture, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
But in the second round, there's the clash of heads. That's what this all boils down to. 3 minutes and 4 seconds into the second round, which I thought Imavov was still winning that round too, up until that point.
yeah, for sure he
Cla-
was.
clash of heads, which sucks because Curtis had a clash of heads in the last fight. Wasn't as bad as this one. Wasn't called. He loses the fight. This one is called. It ends up being a no contest. It was honestly like dramatic television at the very end whenever fucking the ref was like, all right, we need to either go or not go, Chris. And Chris is like begging for one more minute. I felt like there was like a clock on the screen, like a fucking like early 2000s game show. Like I was in. I was like, oh, what's going to happen
Yeah,
here?
me
It was
too, me
fucking,
too. Well, dude, it was the best because it was Herzog, and like Herzog
yeah,
really is the best with it. And he literally goes, one more minute, please, please, one more minute." And Herzog's like, "All right, I'll give you 1 minute." Like a minute, like so seriously. And then like Herzog comes back over like 45 seconds and is like, "All right, Chris, I'm gonna have to start this fight back up. Like you're about to be at your minute, and I gotta go talk to him still. So like now's your time. You good?" And he was like, "I just need 1 more minute still." And he was like, "Okay, I'm calling it then." And just turns around and walks away like that was it. Like sorry, you had your minute
yeah.
you asked for.
It was very transparent and honest and like matter of fact, no games were played. Now, well, I mean, what's your thoughts on the whole situation? I mean, obviously it's unfortunate, but like, do you think Chris Curtis should have tried to fight through it, or is it totally understandable? Like, what's your kind of like takeaway from it?
Um, I would have just honestly, like, with that size of a cut and like blood in my eye and shit, I would have been like, I don't think I can continue. Like, I would have just said that, like, because I'm not gonna
Yeah,
fight with a huge cut,
you didn't
not being able to see. Like, I'm just not gonna do it.
like the whole game, the 1 more minute game
Yeah,
he
I
was
didn't
trying
like
to
the
play.
games. I didn't like the games. Like, bro, you're getting your ass whooped for this last 8 minutes. So I'm not saying you're looking for a
Internet,
way out, but like, why would you want to like add more to your ass whooping and like give yourself even more ways to be finished? Like, just
the
call this a wash.
internet was like going like harkening back to the Song Yadong Sandhagen cut, and like how Song was like down to keep fighting and then they wouldn't let him. The internet, the average MMA fan, that was kind of like the buzz on Twitter was like that was kind of the take, like, oh, Song Yadong like handled that situation better. And you could argue he did, but like, I mean, what I guess I see both sides, right? Like Song Yadong handled it better, more badass or whatever, but also the damage was very severe. Like it wasn't no Aljamain Sterling shit. The damage was like it was there. Like that's not debatable. The damage is like the proof is in the
Oh
pudding.
no, yeah, Chris Curtis was, I mean, damaged horribly by the headbutt. Like he
yes,
was split open 10 stitches, 3 on the connective tissue underneath, so like double stitches. Um, all that being said, I even tweeted at him because the kid is just active on Twitter. He's not a kid, he's a man, but like, just he's just so active on Twitter. He's got to be a kid, right? And I tweeted at him because he was just like, "Well, I've never in 40 fights not finished a fight. Like, I'm so sorry, blah blah." I was like, and he was like, "Just headbutts. Like, you see again, headbutts. Like." And I was like, "Yeah, you do see again. Clearly, your in and out bobbing style and being super short at 185 isn't working well when you have to bob your head in within 6 inches, and they want to use their head to defend themselves."
yeah. Like how many 5'10" bodies is Amavov going against? Probably not a lot because those
Right.
and yeah,
And
you
like,
know those guys are
sorry to
usually
you, Chris Curtis, that you have to get in close. And Mobov can strike you from outside all day without having to bob his head into you. It's just because you're that height and that like he tries to slip into the pocket, right? Like he tries to slip
yeah.
and get into the pocket. Well, I mean, welcome to Headbutt City. That's what happens.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think that's what we're alluding to. Is that Chris Curtis always acts like, "Woe is me! How could this possibly
Right.
happen to
I'm like,
me?
that's what I'm
How
saying
does
is,
this keep
hey, your
happening?"
fight style, bro, is built for you to get headbutted. It's
Yes,
built for that.
and then to play the "How on earth does this keep happening" card, it's a little tough to like stomach.
Yeah, I'm just like, you're so corny and like, oh, I cannot stand dudes that are just, yeah, like just playing the sympathy card. Like, man, shut up.
And so you had bet Chris Curtis on your parlay, so this no contest pretty much helps
Saves the
you
beefy
and hurts
parlay.
me. Yeah, and I went against the beefy parlay because I'm a fucking turncoat. But
And that's why you got hurt.
yeah, seriously, it was my I had like it was honestly like my hedge parlay. Like I had a Charles Oliveira because my pick all week was Benny, but I had a 2 leg like kind of hedge parlay where I had Charles and then I went against the crew with the Amavov hedge, even though it wasn't really a hedge for me because I was kind of picking Amavov and I was kind of disagreeing with y'all on that. But like
Michael
I
was in
went
the
against the
fucking.
boys.
Michael was in the tea leaves, man. I mean, I think he picked 10 out of 11 fights correctly. So
Jesus,
only one he missed was Ursag.
we just need to copy and paste and shut the fuck up next week.
I know, but it's sad.
The
The
guy's a
hottest hand can
savage at
never
the book.
remain the hottest. It's always the saddest
Yeah.
truth of betting.
Oh man, but yeah, man. So we end up with a no contest here. It's it's unfortunate for the rankings. It's unfortunate for Chris Curtis. It's unfortunate for Amabov, who was kind of cruising to victory, but might have even got a finish. Um, yeah, I mean, what do you do? Do you run this back? Do you keep it pushing? Who gives a shit? What's your take?
For me, I mean, I'm super biased because I'm not giving Chris Curtis a goddamn thing. He's fighting Andre Muniz next at fucking 50. He's fighting back. Meanwhile, I think Imavov can go ahead and fight Hermanson since Hermanson's a pull-out merchant.
You're trying to see. So you're saying book you want to book Amavov Hermanson and end up with Amavov versus a debut guy from Brazil That's what you're saying.
No, Chris Curtis against Andre Muniz.
Oh, Chris Curtis versus Andre Miller. Yeah, you could do
Just
that.
14-15. Just make Chris Curtis fight back because I'm tired of it. Um,
Is this your new most hated fighter?
yeah, I can't
Is
stand
Chris
Chris.
Curtis?
Yeah, like he's
The,
my new
the,
Deron Wynn. Like I'll tweet at him every single day if I have to, till he blocks me.
yeah, because I think Deron Wynn's no longer with the promotion, right?
Yeah, no, cut a long time ago with all of his generic ass
It's,
tattoos.
it's unfortunate,
So,
man.
yeah, super unfortunate. All
but
this
all right,
Build a
man.
Bear workshop tattoos. Build a Fighter
Just,
workshop.
it's honestly just kind of sucks to end the podcast on this no contest blue balls,
I
the
know.
anticlimactic. Like, there's nothing to really talk about. We already went on to the main card. There's nothing to lead into, but definitely excited for this dumpster fire card next week. I mean, the main event has the potential to be gas. It does. Like we get like a top 5 main event, middleweight, one of our favorite divisions. Like, why aren't I
Oh my
excited about it?
god.
Why aren't I excited, Harrison? We got top 5 middleweights, bro. Like, should I be juiced?
Oh yeah, about Vittori and Cannonier. You always get so juiced about two of the most cringe artist salesmen on earth. Like I'd rather one of these guys be a pull-out merchant than just as cringe as they are. Like I got one that's gonna go play with crystals in the octagon the day before it happens, and I got one that I think might wear a leather coat on his walkout. So I don't like either one, you know.
Yeah, man, Vittori, I mean, cringiness aside, like his fights do bore me, like they just do. In Cannonier, there's like this slight hope. Like when he finished Brunson, it was incredibly violent. So like that potential exists. Like I don't see a world where Vittori gets like a violent finish of Cannonier. If anybody gets a finish, it's Cannonier. Like I think that may be the bet is Cannonier by KO. Not even saying that it's likely to happen, but just on a tip of like, because it's a minus 110 coin flip at the book right now. And so just to squeeze some value, I think if Cannonier wins, like the potential for KO is there and the number probably skyrockets, but you look like you hate that take. So
Well, the odds have shifted slightly, so it's Vittori plus 100, Cannonier minus 120. I was gonna say
that's how I'm seeing it.
the Vittori plus
I'm
money
seeing
feels
it.
pretty good there.
Oh yeah, the Vittori snooze
In a
merchant
five
over here.
rounder, because like Cannoneer in 5 rounds sucks in 4 and 5. Like doesn't do a goddamn thing and is just like trying to land a power shot the whole time. Whereas Vittori's gonna stay
Vittori
really
can't push a
active.
5 round pace.
Yeah,
You're right. You're
Vittori can
right.
push a fucking pace. Like he's a more 5 round fighter.
You're not wrong.
Now, here's the other thing
Boring
I
in
was
one
gonna
through
say.
three.
Christian Leroy Duncan minus 150 against Armand Petrosian. I might put 30 on that just straight.
Love that.
I mean, I love Christian Leroy Duncan there. Like that a lot.
I guess I don't remember who he is. I'm just on my casual shit right now. I don't remember him.
Yeah, this will only be his second fight in the UFC, and I think we don't ever
Okay.
get, we don't I don't think we ever get this value again after this fight. Like I think he
Okay.
puts work in on Petrosian and
Aussie?
we
That
lose
sounds
it.
like an Aussie. Is he an Aussie?
He's an Englishman. He's a Brit.
Okay.
But he's 6'2", and his significant strike accuracy in his first fight was 74%. And he landed almost 5 per minute, and he has a 79-inch reach, and he's 6'2".
Who'd he beat?
Todorovic. KO'd him. Minute 52.
Right.
What's that?
Who hasn't?
I mean, fair, but he also is coming off 3 finishes and 3 titles.
I'm not that high on Petrosian. I think Petrosian isn't like a world beater. So no, I feel you. I'm not that. I'll ride it with you. I'll ride it with you. You know I'm a scumbag.
So Leroy Duncan was
I'm fishing for bets out here. I'm fucking fishing for bets.
He was
bobbing for apples and fishing for bets.
He was the middleweight champion in Cage Warriors and defended it 3 times. So, or won it and defended it twice. So I'll take it.
I'll take it. I'll take your word for it that he's a guy and that I should be excited for the fight and that we should bet it. All right. What's your thought? Any thoughts on Sabatini Almeida?
I like Sabatini a lot.
I was kind of leaning Sabatini, so hearing you say that makes me feel good. I had not as strong as you, but I had a little lean. My one of my biggest kind of gut feeling leans is Muslim Salikov.
Oh god, that fight makes me so worried about like just the cardio of Dalby after he's refound his new breathing techniques that suck ass to listen to and watch, but like are actually
What
somehow
about the
effective.
over? What about the over on
Oh, I
Silicon
like
Dalby?
that over. I like that over because
I
Dalby's
kind of
pretty
like the
fucking
over too.
tough.
Tell me you're not juiced to the gills for Kung Ho Kang.
Uh, if it was, if it, is that a Tekken character?
Yeah, this card is tough, man. You got Zalgazumagula fighting a debut guy, I think. They got no picture on the website.
Dude, fucking poor Modestus Bukauskas, the guy that got his knee kicked backwards by Khalil Roundtree.
Ronnie Lawrence can go, I guess, for a bantamweight, I guess. Zach
Uh,
Palga.
Teresa Bleda
Yeah,
should be a good fight. And
yeah,
honestly, at
that
minus 270, that one is one we should throw in every parlay. That girl's
all
a
right, big
monster.
on Blada. All right, man, fair enough, bro. I guess this card is not a star-studded event.
Also Dennis Bondar. Dennis Bondar is really nice with it.
Should we just bet our rent money on Sarukian and get like $20?
I don't even know why I know. Oh, maybe we don't take Dennis Bondar, actually. I don't know if I like that. Got KO'd by Malcolm Gordon.
Didn't you say Sarukian's like minus 1,000 right now?
Oh, it's up to minus 1,100. Money just keeps coming in on him. I don't know who the fuck's even taking those odds at this point.
Should we do a sprinkle?
Yeah,
on
I mean, a
Silva?
$5 sprinkle on Joaquim Silva wins you $35. Like a $5 sprinkle is a parlay.
Like, because that's just too steep. And we've been
Right.
seeing crazy shit lately.
Yeah, I mean that one's like, I might just do a sprinkle with Leroy Duncan and fucking Joaquim Silva as a two-legger, just because that Leroy Duncan value at minus 150 is silly.
Man, I'm happy you say that. I'll definitely bet that. But man, we'll wrap this up here, bro. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody that's watching. Check out some of the other videos. We've already gone over the main card, and we never miss a card, man. We've gone 133 cards straight without missing one. So if you want to hear fight talk, you can find it here on the Beefy Boys Breakdown.
Yes, sir. We will see you guys next week for a very questionable Vittori Cannoneer card. we'll get there when we get there. That's for sure.
Hey, we cover them all. When we say we don't miss one, we don't miss one.
Every fight, every card. Yeesh. See you next week.